So my name is Mark McGilvery. I'm the Master of Ceremonies for the first ever Marda Loop Community Association Crime Prevention Committee Open House. And we're here to talk about what we can do as a community in order to prevent crime and keep each other safe. The agenda for this meeting is we're going to start off with some introductions. I'll be introducing you to Graydon Tranquilla, who will talk about how we've been using social media in order to reduce crime in the area. And then I'll introduce Constable Rich Wall, who is the Community Resource Officer for our area. And then once we go through and we cover off the statistics, we'll do a quick question and answer period, and then do our draw for a door prize. The idea for a door prize is actually a bit of a last minute. I actually went for dinner at Volo's Pizza, and I was speaking with the owner, Lampros Antonio, and he said that, hey, if you guys are getting together and doing this crime prevention open house, that he would kick in 2 $25 gift certificates. So what we'll be doing is I'll be entering the people at the end of the night into a draw in order to determine who's going to get some pizza for being part of this presentation. Prior to this meeting, I went on to Nextdoor for South Calgary and surrounding communities and asked people what topics would they like, are they most concerned about in our area. And by far, the most important issue is thefts from vehicles, making 47%, followed by breaking and entering being 20%. What makes this interesting is that crime actually has two perceptions. Number one is the actual commission of the crimes by criminals, but also the perception of a crime of how much a community thinks that they are safe. And by sort of matching people's perceptions by asking them what's important to them to the actual statistics, we can actually see that the connection between the two is actually fairly well in line. In addition, through the process, we've also asked for feedback from people in the community. One person said, I live across the street from Wood's home on 17th Avenue. How did the police deal with them? A lot of staff in their hierarchy seem to not care about their neighbors. So there does seem to be a little bit of an issue between property owners in the community and social housing as well. There's also people that are concerned about whether or not there's enough lighting, whether or not there's enough police present, whether or not there's actually enough a response from the local politicians in the area as well. Finally, there's people who, again, are very concerned about car break-ins and vehicle break-ins, and a real need to be part of the solution to try to make our neighborhoods safer. So that's always really, really great to see.
Lead and the original founder. And I'd like to start just by saying the crime prevention group or committee is looking for more people to join to attend meetings and eventually get on board on the committee. And we are just starting up. Well, at this time, in spite of the pandemic, it's been a slow start. But back to Nextdoor, a key driver for our efforts is good social media and communication between neighbors and sharing of that information onto the crime prevention group. Nextdoor came into effect about September of last year and has grown rapidly throughout the areas that you can see in the map behind me here. And we're dealing specifically with Marda Loop Community Association served communities of Altadore, South Calgary, and Garrison Woods. Now, the police district is a larger area in this same area, But thankfully, through our committee, we have Constable Richwall, who is the community resource officer, who we communicate with and attend the meetings with and learn some very interesting things about what is going on from the police perspective in our communities. So he's been a valuable source of information and can answer many questions. Next door, if you're not a member yet, please consider it. There are other groups that have been around for a number of years. Next door is a new kid on the block. These other groups are groups like under Facebook. For example, there is the Altador Bulletin Board, which has around 600 members, and then there's another one for South Calgary. But Nextdoor has really taken the lead in terms of membership, and there's dozens more coming in every. In fact, we have over 2,200 members in these three communities alone, and we see a lot of communication between these three neighbors within each community, covering a wide range of things, from pets, lost cats, lost dogs, misplaced items, items left in the playground, items mysteriously laying in the parks that have been taken from people's garages and vehicles. And in many cases, a lot of these items that have been tossed because they aren't of any interest or are too heavy to carry by the vehicle and car prowlers, they drop them for better items of interest. And we've learned a lot about what goes on after dark. In fact, it seems awareness is a key issue here. And I'd like to just point out that on our street, we've had a successful test case where a year and a half ago, we had one outdoor security camera aimed towards a street and a driveway. And I was quite shocked to see how many incidents were occurring after dark with night prowling of cars and garages. And I shared that with everyone on our street at a block party, and we exchanged information. Everyone was concerned, and we had over 13 incidents per year. That is car prowling incidents, in many cases nothing taken, but probably half a dozen or so items stolen on a yearly basis. And in one case, a vehicle door window was broken and $3,300 worth of camera equipment was stolen. There's been a lot of items stolen from vehicles, not just on our street, but many streets around here, as we've learned through Nextdoor. But that was a year and a half ago. Today we have over 14 cameras on our short little street. Everyone is fully aware, and everyone has essentially learned a lesson here as neighbors about locking their vehicle doors, hiding things from view, and locking their garage doors on a regular basis, and getting their cars off the street as much as possible. And it is obvious that incidents have dropped from 13 down to 1 or 2 a year. And so it does work. And furthermore, we know that these vehicle prowlers and garage prowlers are inclined to, they must communicate with each other because they move on to other more lucrative areas. So it's certainly within everyone's benefit to seriously consider a good quality security camera with good motion detection lighting, security lighting, to get good color, sharp color images. The police can use them, and they've been used on a number of occasions very successfully. So that's about what I have to say about the value of a good social media platform where good neighbors look out for each other. That's a very important thing. We get along great with our neighbors here on this street. We communicate much more so today than we ever have. And we know that there's many people living pretty much in isolation and not really associating with their neighbors until there's a serious situation that draws them together. And we found that people getting together here are very friendly, look out for each other in dozens of different ways, not just with crime, but in many capacities. So at this point, instead of talking much further, perhaps it's best that I answer some questions later and pass the ball on to our CRO, Constable Rich Wall, with the Calgary Police Service, and let him carry on from here.
I'll get started here. So yeah, I'm the Community Resources Officer for the Zone of 2-1. So I cover everything from 17th Avenue to the Weaselhead, 14th Street to just the other side of Crow on the west side. But I cover Marda Loop. And obviously you are my biggest community because you're made up of 3 communities. So you are sort of like, you're a big area for me. And I've been working with I've been a policeman 25 years, 15 years in Calgary. And for about the last 5 years, I've been working in this area. So I know it intimately. So there's a lot of rumors going around about, you know, what's going on in your area. And I just wanted to make sure you had the facts. And so this is what I'm going to give you. So currently right now, on average, outer door seems to be a place where we're having more crime than we normally do, and that is true. We had that in August. We had a rise in crime from July, and so on average, we have around about approximately 8 car prowlings in a 30-day period. Those car prowlings will take place normally at night, and in August we had 17 in outer door and 9 in South Calgary, which hasn't changed for around about the last 3 months. And we've had 1 reported car prowling to us every month for the last 3 months in Garrison Woods. So sometimes, a bit what Graydon's saying, the communication can be good through social media, but it can sometimes hinder us. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. And a lot of that comes around the fact that there's a lot of stuff that gets very much blown out of proportion on social media. So to give you an idea of what's going on in outer door, we had on average, as I said, about 8 in outer door, and we had 17 last month. What we believe is we have an offender or a group of offenders, because there's a lot of people doing this across the city, that have been coming out of the downtown core, normally up the 14th Street corridor, and have been coming into Bankview, which has also had a little blip as well, and then into outer door. So to give you an idea of what we do, the police, is every month we sit down with all of the CROs, the GIU staff sergeant, the detectives, and our analysts, and we look at all the problem areas in District 2, and we pick 3 to concentrate on. And once we eradicate that problem, we add another one. So currently right now, we have extra patrols in the outer door South Calgary area because we've had this rise in car prowlings. And what we think has happened is we have an individual or a group of individuals that keep coming up the 14th Street corridor and are coming into outer door because, and the truth is outer door is a little bit of a soft target right now. And the reason it's a soft target is because of the 17 car prowlings that we had last month, 82% of car prowlings were from unlocked vehicles. 59% of those had property on view in the vehicle, and only 12% of those were smashed glass entry, but all had, in all 12%, all had property on view. And that then leads me to break-in enters. So for break-in enters, we had the same amount of break-in enters. And break-in enter doesn't have to be smashing their way into a building or part of a building. That can be just entering through the threshold of a building commits the criminal offence of break and enter. So in outer door, we had 18 break-in enters. 95% of those were from detached garages, and 85% of those were unlocked. So to give you an idea of what we're having, is we are having people that are coming into outer door because they know that people are not locking their stuff up. Last month, I conducted a whole bunch of covert surveillance in outer door, and I ended up stopping a whole bunch of people that were in the area. I know for a fact they shouldn't have been in there. And we end up catching 2 people red-handed doing a car prowling just off 14th Street on the South Calgary border. And what I watched is someone just walking down the street, trying door handle after door handle after door handle until one opens, and then they go. What we're finding is it's very rare that we get smashed glass entries. We do get them in only 12% of cases, but the only reason they're smashing glass to get in is because with modern vehicles, you can't Slim Jim them anymore. You have to either have the key to get into them or you smash a window. And the only reason they smash the window is because we have property on view. Like Graydon said, $3,500 worth of camera equipment, people's purses, believe it or not, laptops, all these sort of stuff are left in vehicles. And also a car prowling is when people leave bikes on carriers on the backs of vehicles. And, you know, when I'm riding around at night at 2 o'clock in the morning and I find someone's $6,000 mountain bike on the back of a vehicle with a $60 lock, I'm going to wake those people up at that time in the morning and tell them to put their bike inside. So what I found on night shift as a sort of a test for the area was quite a few unlocked man doors, i.e. the doors were ajar, or people have gone into their home and forgotten to close their overhead garages. Or what is the classic case is they will find a vehicle that is unlocked and the car prowling then turns into a break and enter. Because what happens is they get into the vehicle and then they press the garage opener or they steal it, and then they go around in the back alleys finding that garage and then they open it up. So when we get a lot of calls to, I've had a car prowling, but I don't know how they got in. If there's no damage, there's a very high chance, in fact, a pretty high chance that it's ever been locked. Some of the things we're also seeing is proximity keys, where in high-end vehicles, you don't actually have to touch the actual key fob. If you come within a certain distance of the vehicle, it'll unlock. If people are parking their vehicles very close to their homes, they probably come within the proximity of the key, and therefore the vehicle stays unlocked. So that's something to definitely check. As Graydon said, we've got 2,200 people on the Nextdoor app, and that's been going very well. We have seen a little bit of a change in crime in the last few months with the COVID pandemic. As you well know, the downtown within the homeless community started getting COVID cases. And so what we've seen is a dispersal of homeless throughout the residential communities. We've even got homeless camps as far as Aspen. And, you know, we've got vulnerable people trying to keep themselves safe. So we're monitoring those homeless camps. If at any point they become involved in crime, we shut them down and we deal with the offenders and the stolen property for sure. We also have an online stolen property team that looks for stuff that's for sale. I know that Let Go, the app, has been shut down now, but it's now Kijiji. Kijiji is a pretty good mover of stolen property, and we do an awful lot of operations using Kijiji. So for me, the biggest thing we're trying to tell people is don't put property on view in your vehicle, lock it in the trunk, and always lock your vehicle. If there's nothing inside the car and they can't see property and they can't open the door, they have no interest in whatsoever in getting in that car. There's no reason. They don't want it. As Graydon's just, I don't know if you can see that, but one of the things that we've been using to great success is a thing called the 9 p.m. routine. And what we've seen with the 9 p.m. routine is it's a very simple way of getting the community to remember what they need to do. So one of the questions I get asked all the time is, you know, what are the police doing about this? We will investigate crime. We will give you the information to arm yourselves to make your place safer. But at the end of the day, if it's your property, you have an obligation to keep your property safe, secure, and operable. You have to lock your doors and you have to lock up your property. The days of leaving your vehicle unlocked with the keys in the ignition are gone. They've been gone for a long time. So we will always investigate. Our job is to protect life. We will protect property from damage, and we will arrest and investigate offenders for sure. They're our common law powers, but if our job was to go around and make sure your stuff is safe constantly, then you would be buying insurance from the Calgary Police Service, and you don't do that. So my advice to you is that make sure your doors are locked, make sure your property is out of view, make sure that it's safe and secure, and that you do your obligations as a property and house owner to keep yourself safe, to stop your community from becoming a safe, like a soft target. One of the things that we've been doing, and it's been very, very popular and has worked very well, as I say, is the 9 p.m. routine. And the 9 p.m. routine is just a checklist, and we've been putting this through every community association, and it's just 7 things. And it's at 9 o'clock. Make sure you remove your valuables and your garage door openers from your vehicles, that you make sure you lock your vehicle, that you've got an overhead garage door that's shut, that you've locked the door between your garage and house if you have an attached garage, that you close and lock all of your external doors, make sure your windows are shut, and then turn on an exterior light. And some of the other things that I'd also encourage you to do is make sure that on your property that you know, if you have large bushes and stuff like that, make sure they're trimmed so you have clear sight lines. And that way we know that people are not hiding around. In the last 3 months, well, it's been going on for a couple of years, but specifically in the last 3 months, bicycles have become the new toilet paper. Everyone wants a bike. Right now, as a huge cyclist myself, I think the sales in Calgary are up 59%. And unless you've got $8,000 right now, you can't buy a bike. So people are stealing bikes. We have just conducted a massive search warrant on an address north of 26th Avenue on 34th Street. We recovered some 52 stolen bikes out of there. We've just done another, executed another search warrant down in Bowness, and we got another 50 very high-end stolen bikes. So we know that stolen bikes, or bikes right now, or anything where people can make money quick from, are the main things that people are stealing. So we ask you to keep your man doors locked and make sure your garage is locked, keep your outside lights on. And as I've said, make sure your cars are secure, because we're finding that the car prowlings are a way that offenders are getting into garages. From the point of view of violence, very low. Like, we have very low crime for violence in the 3 communities of Marda Loop. We do get domestics, we do get them. As you know, in the summer, we had a shooting that took place at an Airbnb in Altadore. That was dealt with very quickly. That turned out to be an Airbnb that wasn't being run very well. There was no business license. So we got business licensing involved. The investigation was taken by investigative teams, and that's being worked on. But from my point of view, we did an early intervention with the owner. He was forced to do a business license, and therefore he has a great deal of obligations under that. And so he was being monitored and educated by business licensing, and we've had no problems since, which has been very good. Some of the stuff that we've been doing in the Marda Loop areas, we've done an awful lot of proactive patrols. We've been having a lot of CMS meetings, which have dedicated on the CAD in the car. The members have 2 locations that when they're not dealing with emergency calls, they will get into those areas and do as much enforcement and patrolling as possible. Currently right now, one of them is the whole of Marda Loop. So specifically Altadore. So you normally get extremely good police coverage in there. When it was actually run by District 1, which was the downtown core, your police coverage, because they covered everything up to Crowchild, was low. We now have a way higher amount of police coverage in those areas. So I'm happy to say that. We do covert surveillance. I'm pretty lucky. I don't have kids, so I work nights, work any shifts I want, and I cover off any problem houses, drug houses, or anything else in my area. And I patrol in your areas as well. We do an awful lot of investigations with our sister districts, which is 3 and 1 district. And we do get a lot of cross-border stuff between 1 district up through Mont Royal, cross 14th Street into South Calgary and Altadore. So a lot of the time we may see a complete collapse of our crime stats in, say, Altadore, and we'll wonder why, because we haven't had an arrest on our side of 14th Street, but 1 district have had an arrest on their side. So, or even in 8 districts, as far south as 8 districts. And we know that a lot of people right now are leaving their vehicles running with keys in them. Which is insane, but it happens an awful lot. And then those vehicles are stolen and used to commit other crimes all over the city. So it's not always a local problem. We may have someone from Falcon Ridge to Shaughnessy that might be doing it. So sometimes these guys are very mobile. So we also do an awful lot of septet assessments. So I go to a lot of the businesses and talk about crime prevention through environmental design and how they can keep themselves safe. We have a lot of success with that. And we do a lot of evening meetings like this. We find that education is a huge part of what we do, and we find that we have a great deal of success with it. And it's always nice to have that communication piece to let you know what's going on. And I work out of District 2, so if you ever need to know what's going on, just call District 2 and ask for the 2-1 CRO, and I'll happily have a conversation with you and let you know what's going on. So that's what we have going on right now. Bit of car prowling, a little bit of breaking enters, which are linked to car prowlings. but because of the enhanced patrols that are going on in District 2-1 in Altadore and South Calgary, we expect a complete drop in those for the next 3-week period. Garrison Woods right now, if like I said, we're having 1 reported car prowling a month, which is exceptionally low. But South Calgary and Altadore, being so close to 14th Street, and that link between Kensington up through the downtown core, tends to be more susceptible to this type of crime. But it doesn't help when people are not locking their stuff up. So we just need to make sure that that's being done as well. That's all I've got right now, Mark.